Sup guys, Christos here. In today's video, I'm going to be giving you my 10 best money saving tips that actually work so that you can start building long-term financial wealth and freedom. Now, over the past 4 years, I have managed to save over £75,000 that has in return allowed me to buy my first rental property, build a solid investment portfolio, and even quit my 9-to-5 day job. So if you are looking to take your money to the next level, then stick around because we are getting started with that right now. Okay, so tip number 1 is to track your spending, because at the end of the day, no matter how good or bad we are with money, if we don't know how much money we have spent versus what we still need to pay for, how are we going to know how much we can save in the first place? And I think there are 2 ways that you can do this. The first being the old-fashioned route of simply writing down everything you spend on a piece of paper, or maybe creating a simple Excel document. Or you could go the second route, which is my favorite, and that is by using a free online banking app that actually tracks your spending for you. My personal recommendation would be to take a look at Monzo. This is a completely free app and it has so many great money-saving features. The first thing you can do is categorize your payments so that you can see each month where you are actually spending most of your money. From there, you can create individual pots so that you can keep your money aside for those important payments. And you also have something called an automatic roundup feature that will essentially save your spare change every single time you spend any money on your card. Now, moving on to tip number 2, and that is to cancel any subscriptions that you either don't use anymore or ones that you are not fully getting value from. This could be a gym membership you no longer use, Netflix or Amazon streaming accounts, magazine services, the list goes on. All you have to do is simply take a quick look through your monthly bank statement, and if there is something that you do not use anymore that you are paying for, get rid of it. One thing that you could consider if you're maybe not quite ready to ditch a certain type of membership is actually by looking at sharing it with a friend or family member. I actually know quite a few people that do this with their streaming services, and rightly so, because at the end of the day, when you look at it, a Netflix membership per year will actually cost you roughly £120. Now, if you can split that with one other person, that's instantly an extra £60 a year that you can save. And if you went one step further than that and shared it with 4 people, you are essentially saving £90 a year without really changing that much. Tip number 3, pay yourself first. Now, I cannot stress how important this one is if you actually want to start saving money faster. And basically, all paying yourself first means is instead of waiting to see how much money you have left at the end of the month, when you first get your money into your account, before you spend anything, set aside a percentage for your future self. It could be 10%, 15%, or maybe even more. This will all be judged on your current outgoings, and if you action tip number 1, you will have a clear idea on how much you can actually do. In terms of where this money should be sent, you actually have a number of options. You could use it to reduce payments on an outstanding debt that you owe. You could start building an emergency fund of cash in case you need it fast in the future, or what you could do, which is what I prefer, and that is taking that money and investing it into the stock market. But more on that later. Now, tip number 4 is one that people may feel is a little obvious, but it's one of the easiest ways to save more money, and that is simply by earning more money. And whilst you may think this is easier said than done, in my opinion, there are some really easy quick wins that you can actually start off with. First up, you could go ahead and sell your unwanted items on eBay or Facebook. I have always said that every household out there has at least £1,000 worth of unwanted things that they could sell. And then from there, you could even apply for some extra work at a part-time job, or even better, start your own side hustle. Tip number 5 is to always delay your non-essential purchases. Okay, so if you are like me, you will definitely understand this one, because have you ever been sat there maybe on your mobile phone or your iPad or laptop, and you have seen a product that you like maybe on social media, and then for the next 2 or 3 hours you have spent all of your day or evening researching that product online, pretty much convincing yourself that you want to go ahead and buy that product right now? Well, this is what we happen to call impulse buys, and I'm a big sufferer of this myself. However, the next time this happens to you, delay your purchase. All you have to do is go ahead and lock that phone, understand the situation you are currently in, sleep on that decision and come back to it in a couple of days. Now, if you are still just as set as you were on buying it a few days earlier, then maybe go ahead and do just that. However, the likelihood is the item probably was just an impulse buy that you could have saved yourself a lot of money from not buying in the first place. And I have to say, this has been one of the big eye-opening moments for me over the past year, and being able to do this successfully, I would say, has contributed to me saving thousands of pounds over the past year, especially when we have all been locked down for the majority of it, with sometimes no other choice but simply just to browse at things on our phones. So delay that purchase. Tip number 6. Does it have to be brand new? Now, of course, sometimes we can't help but buy brand new things, but one great example that I came across recently was this lens that I purchased for my video camera. In one store, it was £230 brand new. However, after doing a quick price comparison, I realized the store just 15 minutes away had the exact same lens but used at £140, which even came with a 1-year guarantee. Now, if you're good at maths, you would have already worked out that this is a saving of £90, and the only real difference was that my camera just simply didn't come in a sealed box. So having said that, always shop around for the best price, and if the opportunity is there to go and get it used, then why not give it a go? Okay, so tip number 7, and this is more of a psychological one, and that is to simply check your bank account on a regular basis. Because if you have already started your money saving journey, you will already know by now that it's actually a mentally exhausting and hard thing to do. It is not easy receiving your hard-earned paycheck every single month and then essentially making a large sum of that disappear into your savings account with nothing really to show for it. So having said that, make sure you take some time out each month to actually remind yourself how good you are actually doing. Go ahead, open up your savings account, take a look at the progress that you have made, and when you see the amounts consistently add up, this will likely give you even more motivation to save even more money in the future. Now, tip number 8 is one that I'm actually trying to action myself right now, and that is by either reducing or completely giving up a guilty pleasure. Now, for me, one thing that I love and I have done for many years are my fizzy drinks, and as good as a saver as I think I am, the one thing I have always struggled with is the temptation to pop out to the shop and buy myself a nice cold 500ml bottle of Dr. Pepper. But having said that, as part of my New Year's resolution, I am actually making a conscious effort to cut down on these, and I am already seeing a benefit in my savings, and even more so, over time I should see an improvement in my overall health. So go ahead and check your bank statement for any regular purchases that you notice that maybe you could cut out, and you will definitely see a dramatic change in your savings rate. Tip number 9 is very situational based, and that is to rethink your living arrangements. For example, if you're single with no commitment and you have a spare room, could that room be rented out? Is your family living space too big for what you actually need and you could benefit with downsizing and saving the leftover cash from the move? Because after all, we can only be in one room at a time, right? Or could you just simply benefit from moving to a cheaper location? These are just 3 of many other considerations you could take a look at when reevaluating your living arrangement if saving more money is at the top of your priorities. Tip number 10. Get your money to work for you. So you've done the hard part. You've saved a little bit more money than you usually would, and you have stuck it in your savings account. But what happens from there? Absolutely nothing. In fact, leaving your money in a low interest savings account like this over time would actually cause you to lose value on your cash as inflation rises and the pound becomes worth less every single year. Instead, you want to start getting your money to work for you in the form of an investment. This could be investing into a rental property, buying alternative assets like gold or silver, or my favorite, investing into low cost and relatively low risk funds within the stock market. For example, the fund that I currently invest into went up 23% last year, which means if you invested £10,000 into it at the start, you would have made an extra £2,300 roughly for doing absolutely zero work. Now, of course, things like this do not happen every single year, but the general trend is that over time, the stock market always does go up. And if you took an average return rate of 10% every year for the next 10 years, with that same £10,000 invested, by the end of it, you would have had an extra £17,000 in your savings account with, once again, having to do absolutely zero work. In fact, eventually, if you continue to do this over time, what you will actually find is that you don't even need to think about living as frugally anymore, because the money that you have saved already is making more than you could possibly save in a year anyways, and that is where you can really start to enjoy the fruits of your hard work and start living that life of financial freedom. So having said all that, get yourself saving, get yourself investing, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Take care.